The one you're seeing tonight has never been seen beyond the screen, one screen in Montreal. This is not TV version, it's a longer film. So we'll talk after the film. I'm sure you might have a few questions, but I guess we'll just roll it. I just want to say I want to dedicate this screening tonight to Paddy Murphy. Without Paddy and his indomitable will, there'd be no film. He's the one who put all the threads together, and with Jane beside him, just ferociously determined to get this story out from hell to high water. Believe me, there's a lot of high water. But it got done, and Paddy is he's preparing to make another journey, but he left. He's leaving quite an important piece of remembrance. So, questions related to answers.
You say you're making a longer version of the film. So, what direction are you taking it in that would be different from what you've shown?
Sort of a wider telling of the story. For example, we shot an enormous amount of film at St. Patrick's Day a year ago in Quebec City. It was the first St. Patrick's Day parade since 1912 or something. And when the St. Patrick Day organizers in Quebec City heard what we were doing, they said, well, why don't you make a float or something? So there was Jane and the many Murphys and most of those descendants sort of on their own floats and waving like crazy. But sort of tell the story below St. Patrick's Day. I mean, one of the reasons I think that we celebrate St. Patrick's in the way we do is that there's an awful lot of sadness. You're not allowed to talk about genocide.
No.
In fact, that word didn't exist back then.
No.
But there are other names for it. The British government themselves, one of their governors called it extermination. That's sometimes, in a sense, even stronger than genocide, perhaps. My background is the Fifth Estate. I mean, I was one of the founding producers of the Fifth Estate, and I sort of bring a sense of investigative journalism to history and dig deep, and then lay the facts out for you to decide. But sometimes the facts are quite uncomfortable for people, and they should be dealt with.
It was mentioned in the film that, did she say before 1997?
1997 in Ireland, it really started.
In Ireland, they didn't talk about it?
And still.
And what was the impetus for them starting to talk about it?
It was a big anniversary. It was a big anniversary, and just people finally, just the sheer weight of all of that grief and anger and rage, sort of, if you think of mass graves, 1 million people buried in mass graves, I mean, wait a minute here, you know? I mean, there's, terrible investigations done in Sarajevo into what's going on in the Balkans, and as they should have been. But my God, 1 million people were buried in mass graves. I believe it was a crime to on different levels and different ways of interpreting it. But when you get right down to it, it was a crime.
To follow up on that, what I'm trying to understand, was the story known before 1997 or just not?
Well, a lot of families, like she said herself, her grandmother, I think she said, the Grady woman, said that her was a child in the family and just didn't. No one talked about it. If you don't speak it, it remains hidden and festering. It must be spoken.
Are there any other venues to kind of get this?
We're making
film maybe into the
feature
school
length
system and so forth.
We've had such a reaction to this film. We're making a feature-length, 90-minute film that could be shown theatrically, and we're negotiating with the film board to become part of their catalog.
Very good.
Because the film board obviously is still a very important institutional repository for this country. Part of what we delve into in the longer version is one of the reasons for the silence was the people who stayed behind and survived inherited property or were able to buy property at a very low rate. And I think there's sort of an enormous amount of guilt in families and friends of the people in the next, like the Sylvie Gauthier went and found the old, the ruins of the family homestead, the old Gauthier family homestead. And when Ruby, that woman who's showing them around the ruins, when she first met Sylvie, Sylvie says it was a really cool reaction. And then later she understood that she thought that Sylvie had come to claim the land. So you get into that kind of a dimension. And these are... Thank you very much.